I made $75,000 as a stay-at-home mom working nearly part-time with 2 babies on my hip. So let me take you guys back in time. In 2017, I got married, and in 2018, I was having my first baby girl. I had her in the summer, so I had a little bit of extra time with her, and I didn't go back to work until October of 2018. So we did our research. We found one of the best daycares. However, my daughter never took well to daycare. Things started to get really, really bad. They were calling me all the time. They were wanting me to talk to her and console her. My daughter was at daycare screaming at the top of her lungs, crying every single day, just creating an entire disturbance for the whole entire staff as well as the children. The daycare tried it out for about 7 weeks or so, and then after that, I just received a call while I was at work, mind you, that they were not going to keep my daughter in their facility anymore. I broke down crying at work. I didn't know if I should go pick my daughter up immediately. I didn't know what they were gonna do. I didn't know the process, but they did give me 2 weeks to find another daycare. However, I didn't really trust them after that with my child. I pulled her immediately from the facility. We found another facility. The next daycare, we ended up having the same problem. And mind you, my daughter, she is emotional. She is a bit temperamental. However, when she was with me, she didn't have those experiences. My daughter just wanted to be with her mother. Yeah, unfortunately, I did have to finish the end of the school year. So my mother-in-law came through and she helped me out so much. She kept my daughter for a few months until the school year ended. Once the school year ended, I did take a leave of absence from my teaching position. I kid you not, about a week after I put in my leave of absence form, I found out I was pregnant again. Needless to say, like, that sent my mind in a spiral. I was so worried about finances. And then, you know, my husband's acting all surprised, like, well, how'd you get pregnant? And then I didn't even know that I was pregnant. I just started having pregnancy symptoms, and I was like, oh, I haven't felt like this since I was pregnant. And then a light bulb went off. I drove to the drugstore like a maniac, and I bought a pregnancy test. That pregnancy test came back positive in like 30 seconds. I did feel a sense of responsibility to bring in some income. So that is when my first business was born. My first business was Shop Sky Bear. I had already been making my first daughter a lot of bows because the ones that you buy in the store, they would just fall apart. So I made all of her bows and all of her headbands. I was like, well, why not, you know, sell bows? Like, I'm really creative. I was making all of these cute bows, and I started selling on Etsy. I did get a lot of sales and a lot of support within that business. I have a very soft spot for moms because, you know, I've just been through so much trying to find myself. Starting my business and just having something that was my own, it gave me back my spark. I used to work during their nap time, and I worked at night when they were sleeping. I actually taught myself how to sew. I would order all of these beautiful fabrics. I was on fire again. I was making money, and we used that money as extra income, or if I wanted to go out in the neighborhood with the kids, if I wanted to have play dates, Jamba Juice with the kids, and any kind of outings, I had the extra money for it, and I was really happy and proud of myself about that at that time. I happened to be on Walmart one night, and I seen an embroidery machine for only $350. It was the SE 600 embroidery machine, and it was a sewing machine as well. So on a whim, some of the money that I made from Shop Sky Bear selling my bows, I used that money to buy my first embroidery machine because I had the bright idea of embroidering and decorating my bows. I kept on practicing and I learned how to angle the embroidery so that it would fit the bow perfectly. And this was my thing. I was happy. I was embroidering bows. I wasn't making a lot of sales, but I was very happy and proud of myself. So one day on YouTube, I came across somebody embroidering a baby blanket. Oh my, that is when I learned how to do baby blankets. I learned how to do applique. I learned how to do names on minky fabric. I would say that probably was the game changer. That's when I started to take embroidery really serious. That's when I started practicing. From that point, I had laser focus. I perfected my blanket making skills and I sold them on Etsy and I sold them through Instagram. I started creating content around making these blankets and I would sell my blankets like that. And you guys, I made the most beautiful blankets with my little single needle embroidery machine. I can honestly say that I didn't have a business plan or anything like that during this entire process. I mean, I was just making videos and selling blankets. By the following year, I had really slowed down on my bow making because I was making so much more money selling blankets. As I was learning how to use the repositional hoop with my SC 1900, I made a shirt. I started making just plain old t-shirts, and then I made a shirt and I made a head wrap. I posted it on my Instagram and a popular influencer liked it and she asked me if I could send it. So at the time I was like, well, yeah, you know, just cover shipping. I just asked her to cover shipping. I know better now. You never ask a popular influencer to cover their own shipping. Don't do that. I just didn't know any better and I didn't know the influence that influencers had. So I sent her the package and I had already been advertising it myself, getting a few sales here and there from just wearing a shirt on my Instagram. But once she wore that shirt, she posted it on her TikTok and her Instagram, and it was like my shirt almost, in my mind, it was viral. I probably sold 50 shirts, but as a brand new still embroiderer, you know, you're just getting your name out there. Like that was like, I'm viral. Now, with all of the attention that I was getting on the shirt, I did find out that the shirt was trademarked. When I say that I did not know anything, you guys, believe me, I did not know anything. So actually, the owner of that design contacted me and I ended up taking the shirt down. However, after I finished like those 50 some orders, and mind you, 50 t-shirts on a single needle, I could only, as a mother, I could literally only do 8 a day. So it took me forever to complete those t-shirts, but I managed to do it. So after going viral, I did take a break because we were in transition. We were moving from California to Texas. So from May all the way up until October of 2022, I did not embroider whatsoever. I had gained a lot of momentum from my blankets and from the t-shirts, and everyone was asking me when I was going to start taking orders again. And I knew that once we moved and we got settled that I would have my own studio, because in our previous home, I was working out of the dining room. So I kept telling them, you know, just give me a moment, let me get my studio up. And I ended up getting my studio set up. I used some of the proceeds that I had made from those shirts, because whenever you make money within your business, you're supposed to put it back into the business. And that's what I did. I used some of those proceeds to get my very first industrial embroidery machine. And I got the Melco. The Melco was my dream machine. I didn't know how to work it whatsoever, and I kept making mistakes, but I had my dream machine. So that was in October. Throughout the rest of October and November, I was practicing using my machine, getting comfortable with the Melco. If you guys run Melcos, you know it's going from a single needle to a Melco was extremely difficult for me, and I had a lot to learn. So I spent a couple months practicing, getting used to it, learning my machine, just learning everything that I needed to know. In December for the holidays, I started selling lock merchandise again. And I made another shirt. I didn't go viral, but I had a lot of people wanting to buy that shirt. It was actually a sweatshirt. It said locked. If you guys don't know, I have a whole entire lock brand about hair locks. So it said locked, and then it had your EST year, which is the year that you had your locks installed. I made a lot of sales from that. I made about nearly $3,000 on Etsy, just selling like one sweatshirt. And when those Etsy fees hit me, I said, this is not going to work. So that from that point on, I decided that I was going to have a legit business. And not saying that Etsy isn't legit, I just wanted something that was completely mine and that I had control over. So in February 19th to be exact, I launched KTS Apparel. Now, I was determined not to go back to my teaching position, so I worked my little butt off with my children right by my side. At the time, they were 2 and 4 years old, so they were still very, very young. I got my business license, got my LLC, I set up my Shopify, I set up my business page, and I sent my shirt to 3 influencers. And you guys, I say that the launch, my very first launch, was so successful. I was floored. I had over 200 orders. I had so many orders that I had to use the majority of the proceeds to buy another industrial embroidery machine. I said that I wanted to take it to the next level, but I truly was not ready for the level that I had went to, getting myself into 200 orders, 200 or more orders. Now, mind you, I wasn't exactly a new embroiderer, but I was new to multi-needle machines. I made well over $15,000. That pretty much changed my world. It changed my life. And that was the moment that I decided that embroidery was going to be my career. There isn't going to be any more teaching. Like embroidery, there's so much profit in embroidery, and there's so much that you can do within embroidery that my mind was dead set on doing this, making this my career. And that is exactly what I did. Basically, working part-time or nearly part-time. I wasn't working full-time because remember, I have always been a stay-at-home mom. I never went back to work. So working part-time, my first year in embroidery, I made $75,000. Like, I could not believe it. That is more than my teaching salary. So I'm telling my story because I'm so proud of what I accomplished. I made a career for myself from scratch without a business plan, not knowing what I was doing. And not to mention, I've created all of this around motherhood. So I built a real business with no experience. I've made thousands of dollars all around something from my creativity that I created. And I was able to create all of this while being a mother. My children have never known life without me. I have always been there for them. And even now, both of them are school age. My youngest entered kindergarten this fall, and I walk them to school. I do all of these stay-at-home mom things, but I run a full business. I'm always speaking to moms because I am a mother and I know how hard it is and I know what we go through once we start having kids, but truly this message is for everyone. If you are feeling stuck, I want you to know that there is another way. Now, I'm not saying go out there and quit your job because that's not what I'm about. I am very aware of the times that we live in. You know, I touch the grass every day, so I have a very deep understanding of our economy and what is going on in the world. So do not quit your job, but start embroidery. This is a great extra income if you need extra cash. It's even more beneficial if you are creative. There's no limit to what you can do. There's no limit to the type of designs that you can make. I did all this with my children right here with me. also with the support and help of my husband. I've been through a lot of things within my business. I have grown a lot. I have learned a lot in this industry, and my goal is to keep on learning as well as start teaching other people how to do what I have done. Stick around, do not be a stranger. I will be sharing tutorials and tips and everything you need to start your own embroidery business. If you have any questions, please leave them below. Check out the description box below. I do have my socials and links and other things that you guys may be interested in. I will see you in the next video.